In this video, we're looking at the proof of part 3 of Kleene's theorem, and specifically looking at rule 2, that has to do with the union of two languages. The rule states if there is an FA called FA1 that accepts the language defined by the regular expression R1, and there is an FA called FA2 that accepts the language defined by the regular expression R2, then there is an FA that we shall call FA3 that accepts the language defined by the regular expression R1 or R2. We're going to take a look at a specific exercise to show how to complete this algorithm. In this case, we're using exercise 3, number 2 on page 143 of Cohen, and here we're talking about FA1 and FA3. Now, it's possible to use the algorithm just by following the FAs themselves, but I find it easier to work with transition tables. So I'm going to create the transition tables here. This is for FA1, and this is for FA2, FA3. Here we've got W1 and W2. There's a start state and there's an end state. W1 we read an A, we go to W2, which is an end state. W1 we read a B, we stay in W1. W2 we read an A, we stay in W2, which is an end state. W2 we read a B, we go back to W1. Now you can do the same thing for FA3, for the states that are here from Y1 down to Y4, where Y1 is a start state and Y4 is an end state. Alright, I've now completed the table for FA3. You can pause the video here and check it if you want to. Now let's start building our new machine. We're going to use Z's as the state names. Our initial state is going to be Z1, where we're going to be starting in Y1 in W1 or Y1 at the same time. So that's going to be W1 or Y1. In W1, if we read an A, W1 reading A takes us to W2, which is an end state. Or Y1, we read an A, Y1 and A takes us to Y2. I'm not going to fill that in for the moment, I'll come back to it just now. W1 and I read a B. W1 and a B takes me to W1. Or Y1 and I read a B, Y1 and a B takes me to Y3. I'm now going to look at these. W2 or Y2, do I have that combination here yet as a Z state? No, I don't. So this is going to be a new Z state. Because W2 is a final state, this will also be a final state. So we have a final state Z2 is W2 or Y2. You don't have to put the pluses there, you can if you want to. W1 or Y3. I don't have that combination yet as a Z state, so this is going to be a new Z state, Z3, and that's going to be W1 or Y3. Now I can start on the next row. W2 and I read an A. W2 and I read an A takes me to W2, which is a final state. Or Y2 and I read an A. Y2 and an A takes me to Y4, which is also an end state. W2 and read a B. W2 and I read a B is W1. Or Y2 and read a B, Y2 and read a B takes me to Y3. Now let's have a look at combinations. W2 or Y4, that's a combination I don't have yet. So that's going to be a new state, that'll be state Z4. And because one of them, although in this case it's both, is a final state, this will also be a final state. So the final state Z4 is W2 or Y4. W1 or Y3, I have that already, W1 or Y3, that's state Z3, so that's going to be state Z3. Now let's remove the next row. W1, read an A. W1 reading an A gives me W2, which is an end state. Y3 or read an A, Y3 or an A is Y2. W1 and read a B. W1 and a B takes me to W1. Y3 and read a B. Y3 and a B takes me to Y4, which is an end state. Let's check, do we have these states? W2 or Y2? W2 or Y2 I do already have, that's Z2, which is a final state. W1 or Y4? W1 or Y4 I do not yet have. So that's going to be a new state, which will be state Z5, which is our next Z state. And because Y4 is an end state, this will also be an end state. So there's Z5, which is an end state, and it's going to be W1 or Y4. We move to the next row. W2, read an A. W2, read an A is W2, which is an end state, or Y4 and read an A. Y4 and an A takes us to Y4 again, which is also an end state. W2, read a B. W2 and a B takes us to W1, or Y4, read a B. Y4 and a B takes us to Y4, which is an end state. Now look for this combination, W2 or Y4. W2 or Y4 does exist, it's Z4, and that is a final state, so I'm going to include it as such. W1 or Y4, I do have that already, that's state Z5, which is also a final state. Let's look now at state Z5. That says W1, I read an A. W1 and A takes me to W2. Y4 and read an A is Y4, which is also an end state. W1, read a B is W1. Y4 and read a B is Y4, which is an end state. Do I have this state combination, W2 and Y4? Yes, I do. That's Z4, which is an end state. W1 or Y4, do I have that? Yes, I do. That's Z5. Oops, sorry about that. That's Z5, which is also an end state. We've created no more new states. So that's the end of our table, of the transition table at least, and we can now move to drawing the FA. Right, we're now ready to draw our new FA. Our new FA is going to start off in state Z1, which is an initial state or start state. In Z1, if I read an A, it takes me to Z2, which is a final state. So Z2, which is a final state. Sorry, my lines don't join up, but the limits of this tool don't allow me to actually make things link. In Z1, if I read a B, I go to Z3. So there's going to be a state Z3, and that's a B. In Z2, if I read an A, it takes me to Z4, which is also a final state. in Z2 and I read a B, it takes me to Z3. Get Z3, if I read an A, it takes me to Z2. In Z3, if I read a B, it takes me to a final state Z5. So let's create our final state Z5. And that's if we read a B. In Z4, if we read an A, we stay in Z4. And in Z4, if we read a B, we go to Z5. In Z5, if we read an A, we go to Z4. And in Z5, if you read a B, we stay in Z5. And we've completed our FA, our new FA, which is an FA which represents FA1 or FA3.